What's up guys, this is Coach Aleyzr here, and today we are going to talk about how to play Cave on Ancient. So guys, today's video is going to be very detailed and I will show you pretty much everything there is to know about Cave, but it might take me some time, but I can guarantee you it will be worth to watch. So the first thing we have to understand as a Cave player are our spawns. They are very crucial to us. With these two spawns we can pretty much do everything and fight instantly. With this spawn it's kind of okay-ish but not the best, and with these two spawns we for sure have to change our util to be still able to do something early on. So let's start off with the util for lane, and I can already assure you that there is something a lot of people don't know about this util. The way how I do the molly is I aim at the bottom part of this blue, like on this blue here on the line on the left, and just a little bit above the ground like here. And then I release it once I cross this stone, and it's a basic left and right click jump throw. And afterwards we want to throw a nade towards lane, and this one can be a little bit hard, but there's a trick to it. The way how I do it is I just come here and I look a little bit towards the left of this bottom part here, yeah, this part here, and then to the left. And what you have to do with your keyboard is once you find the lineup, because when I'm releasing the molly I'm correcting my position like left and right with A and D, but once I found the lineup I'm only pressing W, yeah, there's no more correction to the side. And then you just throw it and then you press D to go towards the right. So it looks kind of like this. Molly, line up only forward and then to the right. And then the nade bounces pretty low. Yeah, it's like directly on their face, which is much better than throwing a nade like this, because this one is much higher above them, yeah, than this one that like lands directly on them. Now, one important thing that a lot of players don't know is if you have the third spawn, fourth or fifth, third can be okay depending on like the T's, how they run. But for the last spawns, using the molly is kind of useless because it will never be in time to stop anyone from going cave. In this scenario, you just want to nade and keep your molly for later. One thing about this util to always consider is even if you have the best spawns, but you get blocked here, you understand, or you have to understand, that you missed your timing now. And even though your plan was to initially molly a nade because you had the top spawn, now you have to change it up and still do the nade, so you don't waste your molly for nothing because you missed your timing. What can be also very useful is if you ask your B player to do the lane util then, and you just molly ramp if he feels like he needs it. Now let's go over the most common scenarios that you will face when arriving here in Cheetah. If you have this molly and the AHE, there are basically 4 scenarios that you can face. The first scenario is that the T's are not extinguishing this molly and there is no cave smoke. This is the easiest. The second one is the T's are not extinguishing this molly and there is a cave smoke. The third one is they are extinguishing but there is no cave smoke. And the fourth one is they're extinguishing and there is a cave smoke. Now let's go over how to behave in all of these scenarios. Well, the easiest obviously is if you have this molly and the T's are not extinguishing and there is no smoke here. Then you just did your molly, you arrive, and once you come here, it's pretty much like 4 seconds that you have while your molly is still burning here. So you can stand here, and if nobody's crossing, you don't hear the extinguish, you know that the T's are still behind this molly. In this scenario, your default response should always be to immediately smoke here and just take over this control. From here, then you have a lot of options to play, for example, wallbanging, but we will go over this later. And you can also help your teammates fight mid if the T's are coming out from there. In the next scenario, the molly is still not getting extinguished, but this time you are facing a smoke. In this scenario, what you have to understand, if you're arriving here and you still hear that they're not extinguishing, you know that on this side, nothing changed. Yeah, it's still the same. They're still stuck behind this molly. This means we just do exactly the same. Yeah, we just do our smoke and then we can just move here. because we know that the T's are still stuck behind the molly and we don't have to respect the smoke. We just do our own and then just move through it. Pretty basic, yeah? For the next scenario, it gets a little bit more difficult, yeah? Now T's are actually starting to fight for cave control. So first scenario, we hear the extinguish of this molly, yeah? We arrive here, we hear it, but we don't see any cave smoke. If you see this, you probably have to expect a fight, yeah? Because they're not smoking cave, they're extinguishing the molly, they're probably coming to kill you, yeah? One thing that you can do is if you're sitting here, you just wait here for a short moment, you hear the extinguish, and then you just start pre-firing here. So you pre-fire a little bit. So basically like after the extinguish, like 2.5 seconds after, 1, 2, you start pre-firing here, yeah? And if they're coming, they're like directly running into your pre-fire, which can be pretty strong. You don't, like sometimes you don't kill him, yeah? But you get a lot of chip damage onto him. And then you can just fall back. And if you feel like he's rushing, you can just block cave like so. If you have a read that T's like to do this, a really cool flash that you can do is this one here, just against the wall and then peek. And then anyone that's going to swing here is going to be full blinded by this flash. One thing, however, to understand is if you have the first and the second spawn, this flash is going to be too early. Yeah? It's going to be exploding when they're still here. So if you have the first or second spawn and you're like really fast, you just have to wait one short moment, then flash and then peek. But if you have one of the later spawns, yeah, then you can just immediately flash and peek because then the timing will be right. Again, if you have a read that T's like to do it, you can also let your B player do the lane util, like the molly, and you just double nade with him. And then you come here with first or second spawn and you just molly like so, yeah? And then it's going to be pretty hard for the T's to fight you. Now let's talk about the scenario that will probably happen in like higher level games, and this is the scenario where you need a lot of knowledge. If the T's are smoking this, extinguishing, and you see a cave smoke here. This is probably a very common scenario in higher levels. The first most important crucial skill you need to have as a cave player is you need to be able to differentiate between the smokes. What do I mean by that? The most common cave smokes are this one here, which lands inside of this corner here, and it blooms pretty much out in cheetah, yeah? You can clearly see how it's blooming into the room, and this is the one that leaves lane open. The second smoke is a smoke that bounces like this, which is not that deep, yeah, and it covers lane a little bit and has this gap here on the left side. And you can see it's not that deep blooming into cheetah, yeah, it's much closer to this line here. As a cave player, it's really important that you are able to tell which smoke is in front of you just by looking at this side of the smoke. You want to be able to know if this here is covered or not just by looking at the smoke from your side. So let's start with this smoke here that lands inside of the corner, which blooms here deep, which is the one that has kind of open lane here, yeah? The first option that you have is you just come close to the smoke, and if they're fighting for heaven, you can extend the smoke, yeah? So basically throwing a smoke behind their smoke, and now lane is covered, and now you're free to move in between those smokes and go to whichever side you feel like it. Obviously, this can be pretty tough if they have two players. If there's just one player running across, fighting for mid control, sometimes you can just do that and immediately go behind them. What you have to do in this scenario is you want to delay your smoke as long as you can. What I mean by that is that you're not throwing your smoke, yeah, then you're waiting a little bit, and then you're sneaking behind him, yeah? Then it's not that much of a surprise factor. What you want to be doing is you want to hold onto your smoke, yeah? You hear him cross, yeah? And then you just go inside of the smoke, drop it, and then you're like instantly out, yeah? Because there's probably someone holding this with their smoke, yeah? So he's expecting to still be able to hold this. And then your smoke is like coming, yeah? Because you're here, you smoke is coming. As soon as it's out, you're like immediately behind him, yeah? If you feel unsafe with this, you can also use a flash. So you do the smoke, flash here, and then you go through it, yeah? And you want to start running a little bit before the flash. So if he's here, he's hearing you running, he's turning around, and then he's just getting blinded, yeah? Another thing that you can do when you see this smoke here is you can start wall banging. This part here on the wall is extremely wall bangable, yeah? You can immediately kill somebody that is like either standing in this corner here or just on this line hovering around heaven. The way how I line this up is you can basically see this corner here, yeah, the corner of Cheetah, and then you know it's just a little bit to the left. So if there's the smoke, yeah, we arrive, we see this corner here, we hear him cross, and then we just instantly spam here. And as you can see, it's a pretty fast kill. Now, if you have a read that T's like to use this smoke to fast cross towards heaven, you can just let your B player do the nade. You just do your molly. And then with your nade, you can use it like so. It needs some practice, but you can clearly see how you can break open the smoke and see if anybody is like fast crossing towards the right side. And either you do a little bit of chip damage, and even if you do it and you see that they cross to the right side, we can just still go back to wall banging this wall here. Obviously, there will be a smoke still afterwards. Another small play that you can use is you can use a Molotov. So you can keep your molly, and if you have a read that like they're always crossing heaven and you can't do anything about it, you can just come here, see, yeah, situation is the same. Just go here and quickly look at this line here, yeah. You can see I'm just aiming in the at middle height, yeah, and I'm just correcting with my nade crosshair a little bit towards the right of this line here, yeah. And then you just run forward and release the molly. So we are arriving here, yeah, we see they cross. We can go for a little bit of spam, yeah, and then we just do this, do the molly, spam again, and they're like instantly dead and burning. This is a small cheeky play that you can do if you know that they like to come heaven and then hover around in this area. Now remember, we are still talking about the scenario where they're extinguishing and using a cave smoke, but this time we are able to see that they didn't use this smoke here that blooms deep and doesn't cover lane, but this time they're using this smoke here that doesn't bloom as deep, and we know it covers lane. With this smoke, our first play that we can always do is just sit in the smoke, and if we hear somebody, we can immediately move out, because we know that there's no second guy from bottom here that can cover this, yeah, because the smoke is blooming out, and we can just navigate through this part here and be directly behind this player. The only downside obviously is if there are two, then this is a little bit dangerous. So sometimes it might be a good idea to just be here, flash again, and then we move out with the flash. So if anyone is like a little bit behind that is trying to cover him, he's going to get blinded by this. This is obviously a play you have to make on feeling. You can't do it every single time, yeah, because sometimes this guy will hear the flash, just turn, and then it's like pretty like free kill for them. But if you feel like their default is like just two guys on B, one is like holding here, hovering, and one is always fast crossing towards heaven, then this is for certain a play that you can make where you just go through the smoke immediately and play. And sometimes it's if you feel like they're extinguishing but not really going, or going a little bit delayed, yeah, even if they're in this space here, they still won't be able to see you. So imagine they extinguish the molly and now they're like here. What you can do is you just go and you still just go out here and then just move to the right side, yeah, and then you're here in a very forward position. Obviously for this you need to have teammates that are covering elbow for you, but if you do so, then this is also a very good play if you notice that they're approaching this area here a little bit slower after they extinguish. Obviously with this smoke we can also, yeah, keep our play like this where we're breaking and still checking if somebody is like fast crossing. So now you already know a lot about the situations that are most likely going to occur inside of your games. However, there's one more thing that we need to talk about. As you probably know, there's this molly called Brollan molly, because he was the one who found it, I guess, that is landing here. Usually, if you face this molly as a CT, there will be no cave smoke because people are doing it to fight cave early. Yeah, that's the whole purpose. With this molly, you have to be a little bit careful. If you see it, if you realize it without like knowing beforehand, so you did your util already and then you arrive and you see it, I would probably not recommend going through it. The reason why is because now they extinguished your molly and you're left to fight this area here, probably against two people with like probably around 85 or something, or 90, yeah, not that much. But still, you're probably fighting two players and then it's going to be pretty hard, yeah? You could flash, but the thing is, if you flash, because we always want to just cross first and second spawn, so we don't take massive damage. Then the flash is going to be too early, as we learned, yeah. And if we go third, fourth spawn, or we wait to delay the flash, then we're taking more damage, yeah. So you can see in this type of scenario, probably best to forfight, yeah. You can smoke it if you want to really fight for it, however, yeah. What you need to do then, like you do your molly, you do your HE, you have smoke out, you see the ball molly, you have to extinguish and then flash. But for this, you need to be like very fast. So it has to be then like this. You molly, you nade, yeah, you see the molly, you extinguish, you instantly flash, and then you peek. And then with this smoke, you will extinguish the molly, and you will always have this angle still available. This would obviously only count for the later spawns, so 3, 4, and 5, yeah, because with the first ones, we can tank it. And if you're really crazy, what you can do, like if you really want to fight it, you can just, with the first or the second spawn, you do your normal lane util, and then instead of nading, you can just do a flash and then just try to catch a timing. It is kind of a gambly fight, but if you feel like it, you can go for it. However, if you have struggles with doing it, then I would recommend just waiting it out, yeah, and then you just smoke here and keep some control, but forfight cave a little bit earlier. The other way to play against this needs a little bit of setup, because you need your B player to do the util, yeah. You can nade, so you have still a molly left. And then if you have the first or second spawn, we are tanking just a few ticks of the molly, and then we are like immediately mollying here. Then we are back into a good position, because if the T's are rushing, they're extinguishing, they're coming. Now, if they want to fight us, they're like standing inside of the molly. One thing to really keep in mind always in these scenarios is when you do your molly, afterwards you want to have your crosshair very far out for like 1 second, because sometimes T's decide, like they see the molly and they decide to push you here, yeah. Then we don't want to stand here with our crosshair inside of the wall or here. So immediately after we release the molly, you want to have our crosshair very far out here if somebody is swinging us. The next thing after this molly is, if nobody's swinging, we want to be pretty fast on like smoking this molly here, so we can keep the control, because there are probably people directly waiting behind this molly. So what we want to be doing is, if we molly here, yeah, nobody's coming, then we can move and directly smoke this molly. It doesn't, like, we don't need to be silent, just make sure that you smoke it fast, because there will be always a world where T's get mollied here, yeah, they wanted to fight, they get mollied here, and then their reaction is to counter molly you, yeah. And in this case, we want to be like already, while our molly is burning, we checked here, now their molly is coming, we want to be running up, running in front of the molly, their molly is burning here, we have control now, yeah. So this needs to be really fast, otherwise you lose your timing. So yeah, guys, I know this was a lot, but now you know a lot about the early round of cave. Yeah, you hear it correctly. This is just the early round of cave. And this is why this position is a little bit complicated. But if you master those things, you will destroy everyone. You will destroy everyone that is trying to come your way. So if you're this type of player that's like nerdy about this stuff, let's keep going, and I will teach you how to be an absolute legend on this position. So now we talked about early round, yeah. Now let's say we are in a situation where we end up here, yeah, smokes are starting to fade, and we basically don't want to fight, yeah. This can sometimes also happen, yeah. We molly, they extinguish, we don't want to take the fight, we're not confident in our aim, for example, yeah. And we just stay here, we see if they're coming, and then we just smoke, jump on top of the box, yeah. And then one thing to know is you can silently drop. You have to drop on this bucket here, and there is no sound, yeah. And then you can silently drop and go back. One thing to consider is, if the T smoked here and you are here and maybe you did a little bit of spam, yeah, but you now want to play passive, you don't always have to go here then and just smoke here. Sometimes you can just re-smoke this smoke here, yeah. So you're basically like waiting, it's about to fade, and then instead of jiggling here and smoking here, you basically just re-smoke here. This is pretty good in pucks, I would say, because it stalls out the round a lot and it makes timings for T's pretty awkward. If you're as a T here in heaven, yeah, you fought for mid control kind of early, like you smoke cave and you're here, and now this guy is jiggling, like you come back and you get smoked here. If you look at this from a T's perspective, you're like, yeah, he's somewhere sitting in cave, or maybe he's back, but now you feel very comfortable to just go back towards like mid and look for any possibilities to split the A side. If you get re-smoked here, however, as a T, it's much more uncomfortable for you to go A, because you don't know if the CT is still playing very aggressive in cheetah, basically staying right behind you, or if he's just doing the smoke and leaving and he's like already maybe here in door or even deeper into the back lines. Yeah, so this smoke can make it much more uncomfortable for the T's to make a decision now, and you can just stall out the round a little bit and give more time for your teammates to figure out what is happening on the map, because by this time window smokes will start fading and T's are still hard stuck here because, as I said, they have to be worried about this. So you can clearly see how much more impactful it can be to re-smoke here instead of just re-smoking this area. If the T's, however, play very slow and you want to hold onto your smoke a little bit longer, so you don't directly want to smoke, obviously, as I said, you can jiggle from here, or you can jiggle from the door here. When you jiggle from the door, don't jiggle from the front here, just jiggle from the back, then you have more control over your movement. Yeah, it's easier for you to keep the angle like pretty tight. Yeah, and if you see somebody, you just go to the left and aim not on the left edge, but a little bit towards the right of it. Yeah, so you're jiggling, yeah, you see somebody just like this, and then just throw it pretty hard, and then you get a cave smoke like this. In low economy rounds with this smoke, it might be a good idea to stay behind this smoke. Yeah, so if you have MP9, for example, yeah, or just a 5.7, and you can always play on the box here. One position that you can sometimes play is this one here, because I can put a bot here. If people are sloppy, yeah, they're checking here. Sometimes now they want to check this, yeah, and then they run past this angle. So if you're not really careful about this, yeah, you can see I'm seeing it here, but you will probably overlook it. Like, you have to be pretty far, like checking into the left to see it. And sometimes people don't do it because they're scared of the door. Yeah, they're quickly checking, and then this position can be pretty powerful. So yeah, you can try it out in a low econ round for sure. But if this is a normal gun round, let's now talk about what you do after you did the smoke. The usual reaction is that you move, like if the T's are now taking cave space, you're looking to take some space somewhere else. You can flash something like this, yeah, which is a ramp flash for anyone that's like staying here on ramp, so your teammate can peek. And then usually after the smoke, you're grouping up and you try to look for space on ramp. So you maybe just walk down ramp and search for your duels and see if somebody's like playing in front of cave, still in cubby, or just trying to move towards heaven. Ramp aggression is a pretty normal answer to losing cave space. However, the thing with this reaction is that if you reach higher ranks, people will expect it. Yeah, they know you've lost cave control, and they know it's a pretty common reaction to go down ramp. And there are a few like very nasty off angles, something like this here. There's this angle, sometimes even this angle, that can be pretty tough to deal with. Yeah, so sometimes as a CT, you know that you can't just simply walk down ramp because the T's are expecting it. In these type of scenarios, you're forced to play more onto the bomb side still, and what you can do now is to set up some good crossfires. One crossfire that I really like is this one here, where you have one guy inside of the cubby and you just go here, yeah, and you hold for the cave push. Please, if you're holding for cave push, don't hold your crosshair close to the wall, yeah, because if T's are coming out, they will probably like smoke here. Yeah, nobody's coming out like this. Yeah, that's not happening. Yeah, if they're smoking here, they check long, somebody's coming out, he's coming out like this. So please have your crosshair wide out and expect the wide swing. Now, for some people, this might look very cheap, yeah, because they feel like, yeah, what am I going to do for like this position? I'm just getting killed. But that's not the case. I will show you. If there's somebody playing here, obviously we need a second player, but we will talk about this. This guy can only see you from here, yeah. So he's coming now. He can see your hands, yeah. Let's put a bot here, and now we have, like we have told our B player to play here. You can see he's already way on my screen. Yeah, I would be able to see him much earlier than this. So the crossfire that we are creating is exactly this one. We have this guy covering cave, and we have this guy sitting here. If somebody's coming up ramp, he sees this barrel, he's full getting baited, babam, he's already dead to this guy. The guys that are coming out cave, they got shot at by this guy. This guy is killing the first ramp player, and then he's like farming this guy, these guys like in the back here. It would be good obviously if this guy gets the first kill, but even if he doesn't, the guys who are like shooting at him will have their backs turned against this guy here. So he just has to get this kill, and then he can immediately farm the other kill. So this is a very, very powerful setup. Another very common setup is this one, where somebody's like watching ramp from ninja, yeah, and somebody's watching cave from long. I personally totally hate the setup, especially in pucks. I think it's super terrible, because what in most scenarios will happen if the long player is not knowing what to do, he will watch cave, yeah. Sometimes he's like not here, yeah. Sometimes it's not that bad to be here because he has to fight, yeah. But a lot of times he's afraid and he's just playing here. As soon as somebody's crossing, he's like, yep, I'm out, yeah. I'm scared now. So he sees somebody, he doesn't get the kill, he's out now. Yeah, now what? Now they can just come out here, yeah. They're probably smoking, somebody's holding, they're coming out. And now if you're playing here, you have to defend against two sides, and this guy can't really help you, yeah. And this is why I hate this setup so much, because your ramp, your long player is always selling you on the market, yeah. You're just dying for free. And team environment obviously is different, because people know, okay, I can leave the fight, yeah, but I have to be like instantly ready here. I'm still waiting. If they're coming out, I can immediately re-swing this and peek here, because otherwise I'm just selling my teammate. But in pucks, people don't do that, so that's why I don't like it. If you're in this situation as a cave player and you don't want to be here, one thing that you can do is you just play in front of the pillar here. This might seem to be a little bit crazy, but it's actually pretty good off angle. Obviously, you have to be a little bit confident in your shooting abilities, but it's a pretty strong off angle against anyone that's like coming up the ramp. And then you're not reliant on your teammate to fight, because even if he's not fighting, they have to run all the way out here to kill you. So if you get the ramp kill, this guy doesn't even have to re-pick into cave. All he has to do is just kind of hold the cross here, and then you will be fine. The last option that you obviously have is to play for the retake. Yeah, if you feel like your teammate is full trash, you can't do anything, then you just have to play for the retake, which is doable, yeah, especially in pucks. You just play backlines then, and then you have a lot of options. You can play double lungs, so one here, one baiting a little bit here, yeah, just baiting, taking first contact, and then you can keep cave, or you can just take first contact, hide the moment, wait for this guy then to have contact, and then just re-swing again. Or you can play a little bit more towards short. There are a bunch of options. You basically just play around in this area here, try to do as much damage as you can, and just wait for your teammates to rotate in, and then play for the retake. One quick thing that I forgot to talk about is that in some rounds, obviously after smoking, you can stay inside of cave. For example, holding off angles like this here. Or there are even boosts that you can do where somebody's like playing on top and one guy's like playing below. But I would say just do it maximum once a game. Yeah, if you have conditioned them to smoke and then you leave, then you might surprise them with something like this. But in general, if T's are a little bit like careful when choosing their angles, they will just spot you, and then there's no going back for you, and then you're like in a really, really tough situation. So now we covered early round, we covered like hovering with smokes, delaying in mid round, and we talked about late round crossfires and playing for the retake. Obviously, if you have a really good spawn, you can always rush cave. Yeah, you can just do your nade and rush here. One thing that you need then for sure is you need one of the guys in mid to flash you from heaven. Yeah, that can either be from here through the smoke, there are like certain lineups, or somebody just from donut is flashing for you like this. So if you're coming here and T's are running up, they are getting blinded by this flash, and then you're free to swing out here and farm some easy kills. In these type of rounds, it would be best if your ramp player mollies a little bit deeper, yeah, so he's able to come close to the ramp, and while you're fighting, he's also going down. And obviously, best case scenario would be if somebody from spawn is smoking door here, yeah, so if you're coming out, you don't have to worry about door anymore, and then you just fight the lane guy. Also, usually after the molly, you want to have a second flash like this for you, because the flash from mid is going to blind anyone here in front, but you need a second flash that is actually blinding anyone that's like playing here on the wall holding cave from this side. If T's are going to extinguish the molly, yeah, and they play behind it, it's probably going to look something like this here, and then you can just jump up and see if somebody's like playing close to the box or maybe in cubby. You can take your time, just chill out a little bit and see if you can catch somebody off guard. Now, two more things we wanted to talk about. As I told you, I want to show you all the wallbangs, and one very, very common scenario that we didn't touch on yet is what do you do if the T's are rushing B? If you're playing cave, yeah, let's see, it doesn't really matter if there's smoke or not. You just arrive here and you hear the T's rushing B. Your usual response should be to immediately smoke here, yeah, and then in general, your first idea should always be to just stand here and hold this cross here, yeah, because this will make it pretty terrible for the T's to come here, because now they're standing inside of a crossfire. So if the T's allow you to do it, always just stand here and hold the cross. In pucks, sometimes there will be a scenario where your long player is still alive, and then you already hear the plant, and this will be if T's are coming up, they see the long player, they see he's in second corner, but they don't want to cross, yeah, so they're hovering around here, they're scared, they don't want to progress because they know this line is still open, and then they start to plant. In these type scenarios, if your long player is still on second corner, you want to be just quickly go and immediately kill the planter, yeah, and this is pretty easy wallbang. People are searching lineup on this box here, which is not necessary, because as you can see, you can always see the pillar through this gap here, yeah? So it doesn't matter where you stand, you exactly know where the guy is going to be planting, yeah, just by looking at the pillar. On higher levels, what will happen most of the time when you're playing cave is that T's are going to use a cave smoke like this. One thing to understand is that the first guy, like if they're rushing and they're like fully chasing into long, the smoke will never be open, yeah, so you can always hold the cross. But while you're holding it, like you're standing here, you will see that the smoke is coming, yeah, so you know you can still wait for the first and second guy, but you know very soon afterwards, if they're not coming, you will be smoked off. In this type scenario, what you can do is you just wait for first and second guy, and if they're not coming, you want to be ready to immediately flash, yeah, so you're here, you see them, okay, maybe you even kill first guy, you just flash here, and then you go out, yeah, and fully fight this area. Another thing that you can do is if you want to stay inside cheetah, you can just spam along this line here, yeah, something like this, which is basically the line where people are pathing towards when they go towards side. If you want to immediately fight, you can always just throw a flash against this wall and then fight here, and this flash is not going to blind any of your teammates that are playing on short, or obviously anyone that's like playing on long will also not get blinded by this. If you still have a molly left in case, so let's say as we learned in the beginning, we had one of the like fourth or fifth spawns, so we don't want to use our molly, yeah, because it's going to be late anyways. We just nade it, we're here, now they're rushing, we still have our molly. You can always do a molly like this, which makes it pretty uncomfortable for the T's to scale into the side, because now they're forced to run this way. This means you can do the molly, yeah, and then again we can just hold, and again if we're getting smoked off, we can just flash here. Obviously then we have to move more towards the left if the molly is still burning, or depending on how deep you did it, you can still move towards the right side. So yeah, in this case it would be still working, yeah, but if you don't throw it hard enough, then you just have to play on the left side. And you can obviously also do it with a smoke, yeah, like this, and then you just move through with the flash, yeah, and everyone that's like looking at the smoke will be just flashed by your flash, and then you just pop out of this smoke here on the right side. And the last option that you have is if you're predicting a B rush, so you're already expecting it, then you can just do the molly, you nade ramp, and then you just stay on site, for example, with a simple flash like this. You just do an underhand, and then you swing out here with the flash, and if they're coming up ramp, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard for them to see it, and then they're just going to be full blind. So now, as promised, we are going to finish the video, and I'm very proud for everyone that stayed this long, guys. I'm very proud of you. You're going to be very, very good on this position. So if we came cave, yeah, we didn't hear them extinguish. We did our smoke play, yeah, immediately smoke off the left side. Now we're pretty free to use some wallbangs. The one that I like the most is this one, where you just kind of align yourself with this line here, and then you see this line, this white part, and this shadow line here, yeah, and you aim between this and this a little bit up here, just like this, yeah, and as you can see, you're immediately killing those guys. And for the last guy, it sometimes depends, yeah, it's like a little bit more to the left sometimes, yeah, but you can see if I aim here, yeah, it's still in a line. So if he shifts a little bit up, he's also going to die. Another wallbang that you for sure need to know is if you're smoking here and you hear that somebody jumped on top of the wood here, so in this corner here, there are two ways of doing it. Either just between this gap here, yeah, or the other option that you have is you just come into this corner and you just spam here, yeah, and then it's like directly a headshot, and he's like instantly dead if he's staying in this corner here. If you're getting smoked in cave, you can always bang the door as well, and the beauty of this is you can do it while getting smoked. So you just get into this corner, you crouch, and you see this gap here, yeah, like these small gaps. You just aim a little bit towards the left of this gap, and then you start spamming, and you will kill anyone that's like standing inside of the door frame holding heaven. If you have smoked left side and you spotted someone holding you from elbow, you can just come against the lamp here, and you just see the line, and you just aim on the left side here, yeah, and you can fight anyone that's like sitting here. Pretty crazy wallbang. And obviously the last two wallbangs that you for sure have to know are the ones for cubby. For the left side, just above this bucket here, yeah, instantly dead. And for the right side, just above this here, the left side corner above this bucket here, and then it's for the right side. So yeah, guys, that's about it for the video. I know it's going to be a long one, but I'm so proud of everyone who made it until now. If you have made it this far, I just want you to thank you for watching my video for this long. I hope that you learned a lot. I hope that you learned a lot today. For sure, join my Discord. Leave a comment with the hashtag to the end. Yeah, I just want to know if anybody makes it to here. If you did so, just come on my Discord, write me a PN, and maybe I have something special for you. Yeah, until then, guys, I will catch you in the next one. I hope every one of you has a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.